Twitter, Centex Sports Network as well. If you haven't already, go over to the website, centexsportsnetwork.com. You can check us out on there. Subscribe. It's free. Just need your name and your email on there. All of MCC baseball has been on there and softball, both top 5 teams in the nation. So make sure you guys are getting ready to check that out. Well, like I said, folks, we got a lot to talk about here today on the show. Joining me in studio, WISD Hall of Famer, the former Texas Tech Red Raider, and also San Diego Charger and Minnesota Viking, Mr. Wayne Walker in the building. Wayne, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, Jalen?
Ain't nothing much.
Texas. Happy Monday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're here at the top of the week. Also calling in with us today, as we usually do on Mondays, we got PJ Gaither calling in with us as well to talk about some of these topics. P, what's going on?
Man, I'm doing good, man. There's a lot of stuff happened this weekend that I'm ready to talk about.
I know you're ready to talk about that Tank taking a fake knee and all that in the ring and try to figure that out. So we'll get time to be able to jump to that. We got plenty to talk about here today. First, I want to start with Luka and the new look Lakers. Luka and the Los Angeles Lakers are 10-12, are won 10 out of the last 12 games since the 12 games that Luka has been traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. Luka's been making a huge impact. He's been playing well. LeBron looks rejuvenated, honestly. He looks like I don't want to say a new LeBron because he's been playing good, but the effort that he's bringing on the defensive end of the floor, the way that he's running the floor on these fast breaks, the way that Luka is able to find him running the floor on these fast breaks. I mean, it honestly looks like a match made in heaven. I know some of the basketball talking heads, and I'll ask Wayne a little bit about that later, how they stirred up some convo with the media versus the NBA players and all this stuff, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But guys like Charles Barkley that came on there after the trade and said, man, this ain't going to work at all. Luka and LeBron won't be able to play together. And, for those of you that watch the show, I said, I don't see how we can see that whatsoever. These are two of the most brilliant basketball players in the world, maybe of all time. LeBron is for sure, and Luka's got to be up there as well. These two look like a match made in heaven. They play off of each other perfectly. LeBron is able to get off of the ball. He doesn't have to dominate the ball the entire time. He can do those backdoor cuts. He can leak out for those fast break points. They've got, in their last 6 wins, they've won 6 in a row since they lost to the Hornets in that one game. They beat teams like the Nuggets. They beat the Dallas Mavericks. They beat the Timberwolves, and then beat a good Clippers team twice in a row. 2 games in a row this past weekend. Both of those games, Luka played well in those games. Last night, they were able to get a win over the Los Angeles Clippers, 108-102. Even despite Kawhi Leonard dropping 33 points, Lakers still come out with a win. Luka had 29 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds. LeBron chimed in, 17 points, 9 assists, 5 boards to go along with it. This team is finding their stride, and that was without Austin Reeves wasn't playing in that game, and I believe Rui Hachimura wasn't playing in that game too. People like Dalton Connect stepped up. He had 19 points in that game, knocked down 5 threes. This Lakers team is dangerous. We've talked about them, leading up and what they'll be able to do this year and maybe going forward. But I don't think they're looking much into the future. I think they're looking at the right now. Wayne, looking at this team, like I said, 10 out of the last 12. They've won 6 games in a row. What do you think about this new Lakers team with Luka?
Dangerous, man. They're dangerous. Going into this trade, everybody said the puzzles wouldn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
And the pieces, they're coming together. I mean, like you say, LeBron seems like he's rejuvenated. Luka has found him a running mate, and LeBron vice versa. And their defense has just stepped up.
Yeah.
I mean, I think their defense efficiency since the trade has been number 1 in the whole league.
Yep.
And that's what you need. Everybody said that it wasn't going to work without a center.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, when you play a defense like they are, I mean, stolen balls, they're rebounding efficiently. The puzzles just fit, man. I mean, Finney Smith, along the guy from Miami that came over.
Gabe Vincent, yeah.
Gabe Vincent, man, these guys. Vanderbilt, they got him back. And they played last night without 2 starters, and they still were able to win. So, man, these guys are playing together, and Luka looks like a quarterback throwing to a receiver on the field. They look like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, man. Yeah. I mean, the way he's passing the ball down the court, and and getting those those easy baskets, man. But hey, they're a dangerous team. They beat Minnesota and they beat Denver, two of the top teams in the West. Um, I don't know. I don't. What more can you say? And I think they're now in the Western Division. I think they're second place. So
It's in the second place, right above
man,
Denver.
It's looking good. And despite all the analysts and what the people said in the beginning, making them all look bad at this point. So, man, making Dallas look bad at this point. So, I don't know what else to say, but the Lakers are a dangerous team.
Man, Lakers are dangerous, and like you said, I mean, I know Anthony Davis is hurt, so the analysis of the team can't be fully analyzed yet with what the Mavericks are going to be. But right now, you're not looking too hot. They said, "Oh man, Luka's hurt and he's out of shape, and we don't even know how much he's going to come back and play." He's came back immediately and had an impact for the Lakers. Like I said, only been there 12 games and they've won 10 of them. And the 2 losses they had, they should have won those games. They were against the Hornets and the Jazz.
And Jalen, they still figuring it out.
Yeah,
That's the
still
thing
figuring
about
it out.
it. I mean, it's a new relationship between Luka and this team, and they're still figuring it out. And just think about the more chemistry and the more they play, the more chemistry they build, and the more dangerous they'll be.
Yeah, exactly. This team is still, only 12 games with this current roster altogether. Got to give hats off to J.J. Redick, man. That dude has been coaching to an extremely high level the last few weeks, and like you said, their defensive efficiency is at the top of the league for the last few weeks since they've gotten Luka, and that was the big thing everybody's talking about. He doesn't play defense, and LeBron doesn't play defense. Well, I don't know where that narrative came from, but LeBron doesn't play defense. They need a center. They need this and they need that. J.J. Redick is getting the pieces that they have and making it work as a good coach is supposed to do, and he's getting help from guys like LeBron and Luka as well. PJ, what's your thoughts on how the Lakers have been playing dominant these last 12 games, really been playing some amazing basketball?
Y'all both pretty much said what I was going to kind of say. Y'all both hit on a lot of key points. A lot of people were saying that it wasn't going to work because LeBron and Luka don't play defense. I really just hate that people be saying that LeBron doesn't play defense because I just feel like that's mad. That's just very disrespectful. He's been in the league for way too long for people to be saying stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know why that they didn't think it was going to work, but at the same time, I just didn't think that it was a good point to try to emphasize on television and say, well, because they both don't play defense or they both need the ball in their hands. Because LeBron is a distributor. He likes to pass. He makes everybody on the court better. So I never really understood why they were saying that. I don't know what they were seeing, but it's starting. You can tell that it's paying off, man. Because like you said, they done won 10 of the last 12 games, and just like Wayne said, the defense has actually stepped up even more since this trade. This is a team that I feel like right now, any team in the West don't really want to see them in a 7-game series once the playoffs come, because just like when we was watching when they played the Mavericks a few days ago, Luka, he had a quiet. To me, it was a quiet triple-double.
Yeah.
It was a quiet triple-double, but it made such a difference, though, still. And LeBron really wasn't even doing too much in really the first 3 quarters, but then went off in the 4th quarter.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's like you got that right there, and you got a lot of guys that's coming off the bench. You know, you got Rui, like you got guys that are still coming off the bench that's making a difference. So this team is probably, if not already, they're the most dangerous team in the league, because definitely going into the playoffs, you don't want to see these guys. You're not going to want to see these guys in a 7-game series.
No, I agree 100%, man. Nobody wants to play these. You don't want LeBron and Luka dissecting your team for 7 games. When you put 2 guys on the floor that are that smart, that you can't play the same defensive coverage against them, or they're going to figure it out. You can't do this. And then J.J. Redick. Everybody wanted to talk about him for having the podcast and all this stuff, but I was a person that watched J.J.'s Redick podcast before he got on there with LeBron. This is the stuff he talked about on his podcast every single week. He was dissecting plays. He was dissecting film and showing how you can attack each and every defense. The great teams, he was showing why they're great. He was showing why the bad teams are bad, why the good players are good. Like, J.J. Redick is a savant when it comes to basketball. So you put his mind together with LeBron and Luka, man, teams don't want to play these guys in the playoffs.
And you know, even Jackson Hayes, the supporting cast.
Yeah.
You know, like PJ said, man, they all been playing. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they making Jackson Hayes look like he's all NBA player.
Tyson Chandler or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. I mean, it's just coming together. It just fits well, you know. And like you said, with the great mind of JJ Redick and how he's dissecting defenses, and we often talk about adjustments that teams make, you know, in-game adjustments and halftime adjustments, and he's been able to do that. He's been able to do that in every single game that they won and every single game that they lost. So, I mean, you know, kudos to that guy because, man, he's doing an outstanding job with the personnel that he has.
No, a phenomenal job. He didn't get to make that many different changes since being on this team. He didn't get to make a lot of trades. Obviously, the Luka one was huge, but they didn't get to build a team around Luka and LeBron. They kind of got thrown this team, and hey, can you make all of these pieces fit together? That's exactly what they were able to do. And so shout out to JJ Redick, man. LeBron James right now, like I said, playing at a phenomenal level, an all NBA level. Some people will say the last month or so since you turned 40, playing at an all NBA defensive level as well to go along with it, because we know we heard all the stuff about LeBron doesn't play any defense and they're going to do this because LeBron can't play defense. So he stepped up and he's been one of the best defenders in the league for the last 3 or 4 weeks. LeBron right now averaging 26.5 points a game, shooting 55% from the field, and shooting 43% from the three. I mean, this is crazy. 8 rebounds a game, 8 assists. All of those numbers are higher than when he won his last MVP in 2013 when he was with Miami. He's playing at a higher level. That was over 10 years ago. That was 12 years ago when he won his last MVP, and he's playing better than that right now at age 40. Wayne, you're a professional athlete, man. How does a guy like this keep this kind of stuff up for this long?
I mean, you said it earlier. He's rejuvenated. And a lot of the pressure is off of him now. Sometimes when you take that pressure and you release that pressure, and all the pressure is on Luka, and he's came out and he's done what he needed to do to take the pressure off of him. So, you know, when you share equal, let's say it's equal opportunities. Okay, so now they share half the blame.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was so much put on LeBron's back when they had Anthony Davis and all the other teams that the Lakers had. Everything was put on LeBron. But now he's able to share that with Luka. So now some of that responsibility lies on him and JJ Redick with all the moves that they made. And so now you release that pressure and take that pressure off of him, and he's just able to play basketball.
Yeah.
So I think that's the main I think that's the main thing that's happening with the Lakers and LeBron especially. And like you say, he's having one of his best years, man, because he can just sit back and play basketball. He don't have to be ball dominant. Let Luka control the ball and just make passes and get easy layups. And he's been able to distribute the ball to the open guy. Man, this guy's making some amazing passes over his back, through his legs, wherever. If you're open, he's going to find you. It seems like he has eyes in the back of his head. And, man, so you just put the ball in Luka's hands. Even from 3-point, LeBron has looked like a different player.
Over 40%.
When LeBron used to take threes, I'm like, why? Why are you shooting? Now you're kind of saying, shoot it.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, he's gotten better from the 3-point line. Even free throws, and so he's having a remarkable year. And man, I think the addition of Luka coming to the Lakers has kind of rejuvenated him and took some of that pressure off of him.
No, definitely, I agree, man. I think Luka being there, them being able to have somebody to distribute, because Anthony Davis, as great as he was, and he's still great, he can't bring the ball up the floor. He can't set up the offense. He really rarely can get his own shot because somebody still has to get him the ball. Luka can get his own shot from the second he crosses half court. LeBron can get his own shot from the second he crosses half court. And LeBron is doing, like, to your point, Wayne, he's scoring easy buckets now. He doesn't have to do, let me dribble the air out the ball, try to find somewhere, try to manipulate. Let me just leak out and go get a layup. Let me just backdoor cut because he's not going to miss me on the backdoor cut. He's not going to miss me if I'm cutting off the elbow and I just need to get an easy mid-range jumper. He's going to hit me with that every single time. So, man, these two playing together, like PJ said earlier, it makes them one of the most dangerous teams, if not the most dangerous team in the league. Because I was listening to Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce's podcast, I think last week, and they were talking about it. And Paul Pierce said the rest of the league is in trouble because now LeBron gets to be the second best player on the team. He said there is no team in the NBA that second best player is going to be anything close to LeBron. So now the entire league is in trouble if the second best player gets to be LeBron. And he gets to try to go head to head with Jalen Williams on OKC, who's their second best player, or Jimmy Butler on Golden State, who's their second. LeBron's winning that matchup 10 times out of 10. So the rest of the league is in trouble when you look at it like that, man. So I'm excited watching this Lakers team and what they've been able to put together in the last couple of weeks, man. They've really been playing some really good basketball. Staying with the NBA real quick before we move on and talk about some NFL. Steph Curry dropped 56 points in a victory on Friday, looking rejuvenated again. I think he even had a dunk in that game, and he said this might be the last time y'all ever see me dunk. But Steph Curry, another guy that's looking rejuvenated now that he's out here with Jimmy Butler. He feel like he's got some more help, and he gets to just play basketball. Some of that pressure, like we just talked about with LeBron, is getting lifted off of his shoulders. Some of that pressure, okay, Jimmy Butler can take some of these shots, or he can facilitate on some of these. So Steph Curry went out there and had an all-time night once again, 56 points, hit 12 threes. I mean, that don't even sound right. He only made 16 shots. 12 of those shots were threes. He was unconscious from behind the three-point line, shooting the ball well. Right now, the Warriors, since they've gotten Jimmy Butler, they've been winning games. They're moving up in the standings just slightly. They were about 11 or 10th before they got him. They're sitting at the 7th spot right now, tied with the Clippers for the 6th spot in the West. And they said when they got Jimmy Butler, we're trying to get to that 6th spot so we can get out of that play-in tournament and be able to solidify a spot. Right now, they're sitting right there, tied in the 6th spot with the Clippers. Wayne, what do you think about Steph Curry's 56-point game and then this new look Warriors now that they've added Jimmy Butler?
Just like we said with LeBron being rejuvenated, what Steph is too.
Yeah.
I mean, Draymond came out and said it on national television during the All-Star game that, hey, man, we trying to win a championship. and everybody played that off. Oh, he, you know, they need to drug test him. They need to do all of this. They need to do all of that. Well, man, hey, they got another enforcer with Jimmy Jimmy Butler. He's an enforcer. I'll go along with Draymond Green. These two guys that's probably in and out on first, second, or third defensive team every year. So their defense have picked up, and they got a guy that can score. They got big time, game time Jimmy that can score at any time. He can post up. Plus, he can play defense. So when you get that combination, and no disrespect to Andrew Wiggins, because Andrew Wiggins won a championship.
He did.
For him,
He did.
You know, a
Absolutely.
couple of years ago. But when you talk about Jimmy Butler, you're talking about an enforcer, a guy that other NBA players are kind of scared of.
Yeah.
You know, to go along with Draymond Green, that's two guys that like I say, man, that's at the top of their defensive game and the guys are scared of. And then it's another guy where, you know, he don't have to take all the responsibility. So now you can put, just like I said with Luka and LeBron, now the pressure is on Jimmy Butler. But Jimmy Butler's coming in rejuvenated and wants to do whatever he has to do to win for this team because he got this trade and he got this new agreement. So he knows he's going to be there. So he feels comfortable. Steph feels comfortable. And they welcomed him in. And so it's ultimately helped the team. And I think they're going to get that 6th spot. So they're going to be as dangerous as well. I'm anxious to see the Lakers and them play, both of these teams play each other, so we can see what combination of the trade helped. And we already see that, but I want to see who's going to win that game.
Yeah, that's a game that I'm looking forward to too. If they play a couple more times this year, and then if they can match up in a 7-game series, I mean that's going to be much watch TV. And really, just like any of these guys in the West, it's going to be much watch TV because there's still a lot of good teams left in this Western Conference. PJ, what do you think about how the Warriors have looked since they've gotten Jimmy Butler on their team?
This another team that pretty much won during the trade deadline and everything. You know, the Warriors, it's kind of just like the Lakers right now, where I feel like, I mean, even though Steph Curry just scored 56 points, I mean, now you got another guy who he can play just as good as you, and on some nights maybe even better.
Yeah.
So it takes the load off of these stars. And so you're seeing these guys just flourish at this point, and even like y'all were saying, their defense as well has been outstanding. So I think with the Warriors, I mean, the sky's the limit for them as well. People didn't take Draymond serious during All-Star weekend or the All-Star break, whenever he said that they was trying to win the championship. But, I mean, they got a very good chance of being a contender.
Yeah.
Because just like I said with the Lakers, who would want to face up against them in a 7-game series? They got guys who are very experienced, if not more experienced than the Lakers in certain ways.
Mm-hmm.
That whole team, most of the guys on that team is experienced on going far in the playoffs, winning championships, or even getting to the finals. You know what I mean? So I feel like they got a roster that's good enough to face up against the Lakers, definitely in a 7-game series. But besides the Lakers, I don't really see any other team that's going to be able to play up against them. And if you see Steph Curry continue to play the way he's playing, and with all the rest of the guys that they got right now, I mean, if he's shooting 12 3-pointers, bro. Do you know that he outscored the Magic, the whole Magic team in the third quarter?
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
He's 37 and still doing it.
Come on, man. If he's playing like this going into the playoffs, it's going to be ugly for people, bro. It's going to be very ugly. So I'm excited to see the Warriors, man, right now thriving the way they are, too, because this was a team that at the beginning of the season, I was like, oh, nah, they're not making it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
I didn't think they were going to make it to the playoffs.
They weren't. They were at 10th when they got Jimmy.
Yeah.
They weren't making it to the playoffs, really.
I mean, look at them now. Now these guys, they're probably they are going to make it to the playoffs. I mean, you got Jimmy Butler, who, like Wayne was saying, guys scared of Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler got the dog in him. He's different. So you got a lot of guys in the league. They won't admit it, but guys are kind of intimidated of him, and same as Draymond.
I'm about to say, if you're European, you need to be scared of Draymond. He don't socked out about 3 or 4 European dudes. I don't know what his beef is with them.
He got a problem. He like punching. He like punching on guys and stuff. So it's gonna be great, man. Once the playoffs come in, I love the way the NBA. To me, I feel like it has a new light to it now in the season. You know what I mean? It recovered. Because before the trades happened and everything, man, the viewings was down. Really, nobody really was, trying to really just even key in to certain teams and everything.
Sure.
And now with these trades happening, and you're seeing these teams actually thrive after the trade. Some teams aren't thriving after the trade, but people are still watching because people are actually interested again. So I'm glad that the NBA has a new light to it after this trade.
Yeah, I agree. People are watching more. And, that just gets the conspiracy theorists even more going when they say that the Adam Silver sent that Luka trade in. But whatever reason it was, hey, people are watching more now. People, especially the Lakers, man. Each Laker game sounded like a playoff game. I was watching them play against the Clippers on Sunday. It sounded like a playoff game. Like the arena's so loud each time. OKC is still playing great right now. They're sitting at the top. That's what makes the West so interesting. You got the teams like the Lakers and the Nuggets and Golden State and the Clippers that are just filled with vets that have tons of playoff experience that can really beat anybody in the West or the East. Then you got these young teams in the West like Oklahoma City, who everybody should be scared of. Then you got the Grizzlies and my Rockets in there too. Now, for the Rockets and the Grizzlies, I see them the same at this point. This is a first-round exit. Unless they play each other right now, they're the 4 and the 5th seed. Unless they play each other, both of them are going home in the first round. I'm just going to keep it real. I love my Rockets, and I know that they've been playing great, but you don't want to get matched up with the Lakers in the first round. You don't want to get matched up with the Nuggets in the first round. Same with the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are young.
You think we're going to go home first round?
If we play one of these, hey, man, I'm going to keep it real. If we play one of these veteran teams, we're going to the crib. We're going to the crib. All that athleticism and stuff by game 5, that's going to wear out. Right now, we just running past teams because don't nobody want to play during the regular season. We got some of the fastest, most athletic players in the league. But we go in there with the Denver Nuggets and Jokic is leaning on Şengün for 7 games. Man, that's not a good recipe. Same with the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies got a lot of young talent. No, we're not beating the Nuggets, man. We're not beating the Lakers either. So it's like we're going to match up with one of them veteran-type teams in there. Only one I give us a shot on against a veteran team is maybe the Warriors because I don't trust the rest of them guys. But you still don't – man, we don't want to play Jimmy Butler and Draymond. Şengün is going to get socked out. We know what's going to happen. Draymond's going to get suspended for a game. He going to punch Şengün. He going to get suspended, and then we going to be down the player, and we going to be going against Steph and Jalen Green. That's not going to work out, man. Jalen Green, we can't even hardly send him to California. He get distracted. He start doing other stuff, making appearances. We can't even play nobody from California. So these young teams, it's an interesting balance right now in the West, and that's what makes watching the West so fun. In the East, Cleveland is just starting to be more and more dominant as each game goes by. I keep thinking maybe this is the time when they'll lose 2 or 3 games. It hadn't dropped off yet. They're 50-10 already, but there's 60 games. There's 60 games in the season and they got 50 wins already. Same with OKC. They're 49-11 right now, and they're getting production from guys off the bench, dropping 40. I think Aaron Wiggins on their team had 40 a couple days ago. Like, when you get a team with that much depth, that much talent on one roster, it starts getting dangerous, and I think that KD might be headed to OKC in the summer. But we're going to talk about that in the next hour. We do the quick takes too. But, right now the NBA is a lot of fun to be able to watch, and they've kind of been stealing headlines from what I'm going to go to next, and that's the NFL Combine. NFL Combine was Thursday through Saturday. Guys got to go out there and either improve or hurt their draft status going forward. And I want to ask you guys just a couple of players that you thought stood out from this past Combine that just happened. A couple of guys that stood out to me, and I'll let you go first. I'll go with some guys that I think kind of hurt their status. We're going to talk about a lot of guys that helped their draft status. A couple of guys that hurt their draft status going into this, I think, is a guy like Dillon Gabriel, who came into the Combine. When they did their throwing drills, he didn't look that accurate. He's a guy that I thought was going to be a sleeper to maybe the fourth quarterback taken off the board in this year's draft because guys want somebody with experience. But after seeing that, I think it kind of pushed back on his draft status a little bit. He'll still get drafted, but I just don't think it may be as high as what I thought it could have been going into this. Another guy is his teammate, Tez Johnson. He didn't do anything wrong. It's just the fact that he came in, he weighed at 154 pounds, and then he ran like he ran a 4.5. He ran a 4.55 as a receiver.
That's at 154 pounds.
Man, we got guys like Jaden Higgins that's 6'4", 220, and he ran a 4.47. Yeah. You come in at 154 pounds, and then you come out there and run a 4.55. Yeah. I said, man, that dude just lost some money. That dude just lost some money with that. I don't know, but we've seen guys that come in small, but they got burners though.
You have to have burners.
Yeah.
If you under 6 feet tall,
yeah,
and you weigh under 170 pounds, like I did, when you go to the combine, you have to be under a 4.4. Yeah. You have to be in that 4.3, 4.2. You have to. 4.4 may not get it for you because you can get guys at 6'1", 190 pounds that's going to run that. So you have to stand out somewhere, and your speed is how you stand out because you're small. So you have to be able to run subpar 4.4. It has to be 4.3, 4.2. It can't be nothing else. Even 4.4, I'm saying 4.4, you'll get a look, but 4.4, you still can get guys that come off the street and run 4.4. So that's going to be a deterrent for him getting there.
I mean,
so now you can look for him to be a free agent because I don't want to draft him at a 4.5. I can go get somebody else at that size.
A 4.55. He wasn't even a 4.51. Maybe even a 4. He ran a 4.55.
You got some linebackers that run 4.5.
Yeah. Well, let's just go say
defensive end.
We saw a couple in this draft that ran above that, and so
you can't even break away from that. I mean, if you get away and you weigh 154, and you got a guy that's 6'4", 250 chasing you, and he runs the same 40 times as you. It's nothing that separates you. You have to separate yourself if you're that small.
And the league is full of guys that, like you just described, big dudes, 6'2", 6'3", running a sub 4.5, and you're coming in under 6 foot, like you said, running a 4.55. I mean, I think out of all the guys, and there was a couple guys I feel like hurt their draft status, but I felt like Tez Johnson lost the most money because Tez Johnson was coming in as a
FA numbers.
Yeah, he's coming in as a top 5 receiver prospect in this draft, and that just dropped. I mean, I don't even know if he's I don't even know if he's top 10 anymore.
If you knew you were going to do that and you knew that you weren't going to perform, you go somewhere, you get yourself prepared, and you just do your pro timing day.
Exactly.
You know, I didn't get to run at the combine. I went to take a physical at the combine because I had a knee injury. But the first time I ran coming off a knee injury, I ran a 4.32. So, I mean, you have to separate yourself, and you have to be able to if I'm in an angle, I want to eat up that angle. I want it to disappear. And he can't make it disappear.
No, not even close. Running a 4.55. I don't know how he comes back from that one. I don't know what he can do at his pro day. He has to run. I don't think he needs to catch or do anything else. He's got to run at his pro day, maybe 2 or 3 times. It can't be no one time at the pro day.
He has to get to 4.3. So.
Yeah, easily. Yeah, I don't know what he got to do to get to that, but he got.
And one thing about speed, man, it is in size. The thing about speed is it's God-given.
Yeah.
Size is God-given. So it's not really much you can do to improve speed a lot. You might can come down a 100th of a second or something like that.
Yeah.
You either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
You know. So that's the difference between speed and size. Speed and size is just God-given.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be hard, especially when you have this already hanging over your head. And people already say, "Wow, this guy ran a 4.55."
Yep.
And when you go to the combine, and you compete with other players. That's why they want to see you in this element, to where you're around like-minded people from different schools, and they put you all in the same setting, and you kind of competing against each other. That's why everybody lines up and run the 40. That's why everybody lines up and does the shuttle, the bench press and all of this. So they want to compare you.
Yeah.
And but he already has this hanging over his head, a 4.55. So that's going to be trouble for him. That's not doing too much.
Yeah, that's going to follow him the rest of this time, leading all the way up into this. And like you said, speed is a God-given thing. And man, you're not dropping 0.2 of a second in a month when his pro day is going to be. You're not gonna improve your time 0.2 of a second in that much time, man. That's too hard to do, I feel like. So I don't know what he's got to do with his pro day, but it's going to be tough for him and his agent, whoever his agent is, moving forward. Because, like I said, Tez Johnson was one of the top 5 in a lot of people's draft boards as far as the receiver position. I want to talk about somebody at the receiver position that, you're talking about winning yourself some money in a 40 time that just won themselves some money, and that's Matthew Golden. Dude came out there and ran a 4.29. This was a guy that was considered a route runner coming into the draft. This is a guy that was considered a route runner and a hands guy at 5'11", 190. He comes in and runs a 4.29 on top of what we've seen him doing running route, on top of him becoming the number 1 receiver at Texas over Isaiah Bond, over Jonte Cooks, who got kicked off the team. This guy who ended up becoming the number 1 receiver, he comes out there and runs a 4.29 to go along with the film that he already had. PJ, I know you a Longhorn fan, man, so I'll start with you. What did Matt Golden just do for his draft status in his pockets after running that 4.29?
Yeah, he's the number one receiver in the draft now for sure. And it's crazy because Isaiah Bond was saying that he was going to break the record.
I hate that he even said it.
I hate that he said that too, because
you ran out there and ran a 4.4.
Yeah, he ran a 4.4 flat. I think they ended up making it go up to a 4.39, but still you didn't get nowhere near the record, but your teammate gets closer than what you did. Somebody who I don't think nobody even thought that he was going to run that fast. I didn't think he was going to run that fast. I thought he was going to run like a 4.4, like a high 4.4 maybe a low, maybe like a high, about a high 4.4, low 4.4. I don't know. I thought it was going to be a 4.4. I didn't think he was going to run a 4.29. He already has everything when it comes to playing the receiver position. He has great hands. He's very reliable. He was the go-to guy this year during the season, if you really noticed, that whenever we needed a play, he was the guy that was making the plays. I mean, he knows how to manipulate his body whenever it's time for him to go catch the ball. Sometimes the ball might be underthrown this season, and he was just going and getting it every time. So he has that burst coming out. The guy is special. I really like Matthew Golden. He's been special even coming from whenever he was at U of H. Mm-hmm. And I think this is going to help for a lot of guys who are going to want to get recruited to Texas, who's already getting recruited. Is you see a guy, Matthew Golden, who had already made noise at U of H, but it wasn't a lot of noise because he was at a smaller market. but then you transfer and you play one season at Texas, and then you go to the combine and you do this. So this is a guy who really took a chance on his abilities, and he won.
Yeah,
he won. He came
in a
out
big way.
in it. So this is huge for him. I'm very excited, and even with Isaiah Blunt, I'm still excited. He did good as well, but even after running a 40, Matthew Golden still just, running the routes, catching the ball, he was different compared to any of the guys that was on the field.
No, definitely.
Yeah, PJ, I knew you was gonna say that, man, because you're a Longhorn fan. But no, I'm just kidding. No, man, this guy put in work, man. He put in work, man. That's an example of rising to the occasion when you get around other guys and you want to stand out and you want to stamp out your career. You go and do something special. You go and do it at the combine, like you said. It's a make or break thing when you go to the combine, and he just made himself.
Oh yeah.
And so. With the resume that he already has at Texas, he was their big game receiver. He was their possession receiver. He was the man. And so you go from just being somebody that they thought was just a route runner, an intermediate receiver, to now saying, well, I can do it all. I can go deep. I can be a deep threat, or I can be an immediate receiver or a possession receiver, because he displayed the best hands on the whole team all year.
All year.
So this guy just made himself a lot of money. And then if you look at the draft boards now, that didn't include him in the beginning. Now you see him in the first round on some of these
Number
draft
2.
boards. Yeah.
The only person I see him behind is McMillan out of Arizona.
So this is an example of somebody rising to the occasion, and I'm telling you, and just putting in work, man.
Yeah.
So good luck to that young man, man. He's done it. Now he just has to go in pro time. When he go to his pro day at the University of Texas, just duplicate what he's done, and I guarantee you he'll be in that first round.
Yeah, he's, like you said, the combine can make or break a lot of guys, and especially when you're coming in a guy like Matthew Golden. Like, yeah, you have the film, but the draft boards is all about size and speed and all this stuff before we actually get to see you at the combine. You come out at the combine and do that, and the only guy I see going in front of him is McMillan out of Arizona. I think he'll still be the first receiver off the board. But after that, there was talks about, Luther Burden or Mbuka out of Ohio State and Trey Harris out of Ole Miss. I think Matthew Golden just jumped over all those dudes.
Yeah, no doubt.
As far as
he put in work, man.
Yeah,
he put in work, man.
Yeah.
He rose to the occasion, rose to the top of all of that, and he went out there and outperformed them. That's what the combine can do for you.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it did for him, man. So shout out to Matthew Golden, and shout out to whoever the strength and conditioning / speed dude is at Texas, man, because y'all putting some burners out these last couple of years.
Yeah, exactly, man. And then you think about even the linebacker Stewart from A&M.
Yep.
Same thing.
Shamar Stewart. He had a great.
He went and did the same thing. He went and put in work.
Yeah.
With his vertical and his 40 and everything that he was able to do, he just thrust himself into the first round.
Yeah, Shamar Stewart is a guy that was a fringe. Talked about him a little bit last week on the show, like a fringe first round kind of guy. No, this is for sure first round pick coming out of Texas A&M. Now they had, most people had Nick Scorton, his teammate, in front of him, who I think is a guy that might can go in the first round too. But Shamar Stewart just definitely jumped in front of him after the combine performance he just had. A couple other guys that I think really improved. I'll do one more that hurt their draft status on Saturday, and that's Will Howard. Will Howard was getting a lot of love by the crowd out there in Indianapolis because obviously Ohio State fans come out there and travel deep to the combine. He just won the national championship, all of these things. But he had as far as all the throwing drills, he had a terrible day. It's that simple. He was missing on the out routes. He missed on the go balls that they had to throw. Overall, it just was not a good day for Will Howard. He was a guy that was fringe, maybe get drafted, 6th round, 7th round. But after that performance, I think he might get a 7th round grade out of me if I was doing the grades as far as the draft. That's probably where I'll put him after that. Some guys that improved their draft stock. I'll go with a position that not a lot of people talk about, and that's the safety position. And Nick Emanwari out of South Carolina, who I already had as like a top. He was probably the top 3 in the safeties coming out this year. I thought Malachi Starks was going to be that number 1 guy as far as a safety position coming out. But this dude, his film was great. South Carolina. He was part of one of the best defenses in the nation on South Carolina. He might have been their best player on that defense. But you come out, you're 6'3" already. You already got the size. Guys are already looking at you because, okay, this is a guy that's 6'3", 230 pounds. And we feel like he can move a little bit. But you come out here and run the 40 and you run a 4.38 as a 6'3", 230-pound safety. Oh, man, this guy just got himself some money going into this draft class because there weren't a lot of safeties that were probably even going to get taken in the first round. Like I said, I thought Malachi Starks out of Georgia was probably going to be that number one guy. But no, it's Nick Eman coming out of here now. You go out there and you run a 4.38 on this. I forget what his vertical was, but he had a great vertical. When they did that, he did great in the shuttle drill as well. I mean, this guy literally just played himself into that first round with his performance at the draft combine. Wayne, what are some guys that kind of stood out in your opinion on some of the draft combine that you got to watch this weekend that you think might have improved their status moving forward?
The two that you mentioned before, Golden and Stewart, and and even the safety from South Carolina, those guys were the ones that kind of stood out for me.
Man,
I mean that kind of risen, like I said, and you kind of suspected that they were going to do well anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But some people take themselves from third round or second round into the first round, and those guys were probably able to do that. These are some guys that you see on the draft board on these pre-draft boards in the third, fourth, second round. Now you see all these guys in the first round. So I mean, these guys were able to help themselves, and like I said, that's what the combine is for, and it's make or break. And when you go and the film it speaks for itself, because some guys are game players. You can find a lot of guys that can do good in shorts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, they shorts All-Americans, this, that, and other. But when you can bring film, and then you can do it in shorts, and you can go out and you can compete against other guys from all over the country, and you're able to stand out, man, that's an outstanding thing, and it helps you as far as your draft pronunciation, and that's what it's able to do for those guys.
Yeah, man. All three of those dudes, man, played themselves, like you said, into the first round. I don't think any of those three that we just said were guys that were projected to go first round. Maybe a Shamar Stewart, but he was a fringe end of the first round, maybe high second round pick. But after the performance he had, man, this is a guy that might get drafted in the top 15, the top 20. Nick Eman people had him in the third, fourth round on their draft grade. This is a guy that's probably going in the first round now. You're talking about a dude that can run sub 4.4 and that 6'3", 230 moving out there too. PJ, who are some guys that stood out in this combine just watching some of these guys' performances over the last weekend?
Well, I got two at quarterback and then one at corner. Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky.
Man.
And this guy that I kind of been high about him,
4.29.
man. He just played on a very bad Kentucky team these last few years, or not even necessarily just very bad, but they just not good enough, and so it's kind of hard to stand out. But he stood out. All his numbers at the combine pretty much were elite as far as when it comes to the broad jump, the vertical, and the 40. I mean, he ran a 4.28 in the 40. He pretty much jumped a 40-inch vertical. I mean, they got him right at like 39 and a half, and then 10 feet 9 inches in the broad jump. Those are all elite numbers.
Yeah.
So he just earned himself probably a second round. He's probably gonna be a second round pick now.
I agree.
Because they had questions on his speed. And a few things, because he had a shoulder injury and everything last year. But I mean, the way he just performed, he probably just made himself go up from probably a fourth round to maybe a second round. So he might see his name called on the second day. At quarterback, Jackson Dart.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, man. Both of them.
Those two, they really stood out when it came to the passing. Really, the passing drills for sure. I can't even say who did better, but they both really stood out. With Quinn, lately there's been some news that's been coming out saying that he had I forgot what it was, but it was something worse than an abdominal strain. He had like a tear or something that they said. So he was pretty much playing at like 50%. throughout the entire season. So that just came out. So, people kind of was changing their mind on him after that. But the way he performed and the way he passed, this is the Quinn that we know that he can perform to. You know what I mean? And I don't know what it was. I don't know if he's had time to recover. I mean, it's been a few months now since they played. But he looked really good in the passing drills. Jackson Dart, probably, I'm going to go on a whim. I'm just going to say he probably was the best quarterback as far as at the combine this past weekend. Yeah, everything was a dime. Everything was a dime that he was throwing this past week. So, those two right there, they really picked up their stock for sure. And they already had high stock going into it. But I would say Maxwell Harrison. I'm very, very proud of how he performed, because this was a guy that I was saying he was probably gonna go like third or fourth round, maybe probably fourth round. He could possibly go second round now.
Yeah, I agree, man. Maxwell Harrison, he probably had the best day out of everybody at the combine. Like you said, this is a guy that was, fourth, fifth round. He was a third day guy for sure. And now you're talking about, I say second round, but man, somebody might take a chance on this dude in the first round when you talk about that much speed at the size that he is. He's not a small corner either. And think about what Quinyon Mitchell was able to do at the draft after he ran like a 4.3 last year coming out of Toledo. He was a second or third round pick kind of guy. He went 15th in the draft because of what he was able to do out there at the combine.
And like I said, Jalen, everybody is measured the same at the combine, man. This gives you a chance to compete against and to run against everybody from around the country. As a guy that's been to the combine, they measure everything. The length of your arms, the size of your fingers, your heart. You go through so much testing. Because it's so much medical and so much on the field types of competition. So, man, when you're measured with your own peers, guys your same age that's coming out, what better way to stand out than to go out and outperform them? So, man, like you say, these guys that stood out, it's great for them, because now what you did is you put yourself ahead of other guys that you measured better than in the 40 or the broad jump or the vertical jump, and then they get to see you. They get to measure. Like I said, your arms, man, your legs, the width of everything. You go through so much testing, man, them first couple of days, and it's all medical. But then, what really measures you and sets you apart is the on the field events that you go through.
Yeah, and that's the guys that, just to add to a couple of more of those guys, I think did well. First off, PJ, you hit it right on the head with Quinn Ewers and Jackson Dart, man. I thought Quinn Ewers came out there and did great. The thing about Quinn is, we know he can make all the throws. Before, we knew he could make all the throws in high school when he was at Southlake. Coming into Texas, we watched him make every throw that there is to make. We watched him make the throws on the run. We watched him make the throws the deep ball. He can throw the out routes. He got speed on the slant balls. Like he's got all of those things. So seeing him go out there and reaffirm that was good to see for Quinn Ewers, because especially with the way that their season ended, a lot of people put all the blame on Quinn Ewers and stuff. So for him to come out there and perform, that was a lot. Jackson Dart, I think, might have improved himself to a fringe first round, depending on who's at the end of that first round. Does somebody want to take a quarterback that early? That's not going to be Cam Ward or Shedeur. Man, I think he's played himself way up in his draft status. And then the other quarterback was Brady Cook. Man, Brady Cook was dropping some dimes out there. And this is a guy that put up all the stats you can put up at Missouri. He was just at Mizzou, so a lot of people didn't give him a lot of love that maybe a Jackson Dart got or Quinn Ewers, some of these other guys. But his numbers at Mizzou have been crazy for 2 or 3 years. So to see him go out there and be able to make all those throws, I think he improved his status a lot. James Pierce out of Tennessee, a guy that was supposed to be maybe the second pass rusher taken off the board before the season started. Some people didn't like some of the things he did on the field. But him going back out there and running a 4.47 at the size he is as a DN, man, I think he has definitely improved his draft status a lot with going out there and running a 4.47. And he had an impressive broad jump. I think he had a 10.3 in the broad jump as well. So James Pierce is a freak athlete, and that's what people knew before the season started. But once the season started and we started seeing the Abdul Carters and the Nick Scortons and all these guys at the edge, and Michael Williams out of Georgia. James Pierce kind of just fell back into the draft a little bit, but after that day, I think you got to put him right back up there with all the rest of those guys, man. That big running the 4.47, 10.3 on the broad jump, man. That guy played phenomenal too. I know the running backs. Obviously, I've been saying all year, probably the deepest running back class I've ever seen since I've been watching the draft. But the running backs did really well. Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson, I think, both just reaffirmed where everybody had him at. I know some people were putting other guys in front of them and saying, oh, well, maybe they split time, so we really don't know what they are, which I didn't get because Quinshon Judkins didn't split any time when he was at Ole Miss for 2 years, running for 1,500 yards every year. He came to Ohio State to split time and still played great. He went out there, ran a 4.4 at 6'2", 220, and you still running a 4.4 like that. Travion Henderson running a low 4.4. I think he ran a 4.41 at the size that he's at. Man, both of those guys, I think, really improved their draft status going forward. So there was a few guys that didn't perform in the draft, like obviously the Cam Wards and the Shadors, and we've seen the news come out that Abdul Carter is battling an injury. He's got a stress fracture in his foot, or stress reaction. They said it wasn't a fracture, stress reaction in his foot that he's not going to get surgery on. So what do you think about some of those guys that didn't perform, Wayne, in the draft? And is that going to hurt their status in it?
It's not going to hurt their status because game film speaks for itself. When you go out and compete, that's the main thing. A lot of people, like I said, you can be a shorts All-American. You can go out and you can perform when there's no pressure on you, but it's how you perform when there's really pressure on you. You know, in game situations. And Cam Ward was able to do that all year. Shador was under constant pressure all year and was able to do that. And Carter, he showed what he had on film. He played in the Big 12. I mean, in the Big Ten, which the team that came out of the Big Ten, they went to the playoffs, played in the playoffs, and the team that came out of the Big Ten won the national championship with Ohio. So he played against elite competition all year, and he was able to dominate. That's the main thing. So those guys like that, and he's freakish type of athlete. Cam Ward, freakish type of athlete, and Shador, they all perform on film. So that's going to be the ultimate thing. So if you're projected to be in the top 5, I don't go out there and I don't go to combine run either.
All you can do is hurt your status, I think, at that point.
Exactly.
I don't think there's anything they could have did at the combine to improve it.
And I especially with Shador. You know, because now they're talking about his arm strength. They're talking about this, that, and other. So he's down in Florida now, him and Cam Ward together, working on pro passing skills and things that they'll be doing in the combine, so he'll be ready for it. I mean, at his pro timing day. So that's what's going to help him. So it doesn't hurt those guys. So, man, Abdul Carter probably be number 1.
Still.
Shador probably be in the top 10, and Cam will be a top 3, top 4 player. And Travis Hunter is another guy just went to the combine and just took his physical. So that's what you do. You go take your physical, go get those measurements. Cam Ward, Shador, Abdul Carter, all those did the same. All those guys did the same thing. I'm not going out there and run for you. I'm gonna go work on myself, and then when I'm able to do it at my pro timing day, then I'll do it.
Yeah, and I think they did it the right way. You're not going to improve anything. You're already a top 5 pick. What are you going to improve from that point on?
Let the film speak for himself.
Exactly. And that's, I think, what both of those guys are going to do. Jaden Higgins was another one of those guys I didn't want to leave out, too. Ran a 4.47 at 6'5", 220. So he's going to earn himself some money, too, with the performance he had. He was one of my sleeper picks as well. Folks, we got more to talk about here on Centex Primetime. Got to go into a break to touch the top of the hour. When we come back, we'll do some quick takes. We'll talk some more NFL news. Free agency is right around the corner. We've already seen players on the trade, players on the market and leaving in the trade, guys like Deebo Samuel. So we'll talk some more about those, and we got to talk about this boxing fight that we saw this weekend as well, too. So still plenty to talk about here on Centex Primetime. We'll be right back after this short break.
Lighthouse Streaming, a full-scale media agency and your go-to source for all things audio and video. Is your church long overdue for audio and video upgrades? Call Lighthouse Streaming for a free consultation. Does your corporate or church event need audio or video production? Don't stress. Call the guys at Lighthouse Streaming. In business since 2017, Lighthouse Streaming has produced hundreds of live events and completed dozens of church and venue installations. Whatever your AV needs are, Lighthouse Streaming has you covered. Give them a call at 254-252-4206. That's 254-252-4206. Or go to lighthousestreaming.com and set up your free consultation.
Hey guys, it's Rocky and Keisha, and at Prosperity Tax Service, we're all about convenience. We get it. Life is busy. Your time is valuable. That's why we've streamlined the entire process to be as hassle-free as possible.
No more sifting through piles of paperwork or spending hours at an office. With Prosperity Tax Service, you can handle your taxes from the comfort of your own home.
Your financial data is in safe hands with us through our secure and user-friendly customer portal at prosperitytax.com. It's your one-stop shop for all things tax-related. Log in anytime from anywhere, whether it's from your couch or on the go.
We are experienced tax professionals, well-versed in handling a variety of tax situations. Receive genuine assistance and competitive pricing from real tax professionals who've seen it all.
We're marking 2 decades as a community-based enterprise here in Waco, Texas. So call us at 254-235-5662 or log on to www.prosperitytax.com. Thanks, guys.
NSJ Event Co., one of the premier event designers in Central Texas and a Centex Sports Network supporter. Voted Waco Awards Event Planner of the Year 2021, NSJ Event Co. is your go-to source for event planning. Whether it's your next baby shower, birthday bash, wedding, or retirement party, NSJ Event Co. will bring out the elegance, class, and style your event deserves. Call NSJ Event Co. at the number on the screen or scan the QR code to schedule a free consultation. NSJ Event Co., where the party lady takes care of all your event needs.
Lighthouse Streaming, a full-scale media agency and your go-to source for all things audio and video. Is your church long overdue for audio and video upgrades? Call Lighthouse Streaming for a free consultation. Does your corporate or church event need audio or video production? Don't stress. Call the guys at Lighthouse Streaming. In business since 2017, Lighthouse Streaming has produced hundreds of live events and completed dozens of church and venue installations. Whatever your AV needs are, Lighthouse Streaming has you covered. Give them a call at 254-252-4206. That's 254-252-4206. Or go to lighthousestreaming.com and set up your free consultation.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into Centex Primetime, hour number 2 here on the show today on this Monday afternoon. It was a little bit rainy earlier. I don't know what was going on with that, and somehow ended up being 80 degrees, so I guess we're going to spring, but you never know if you live in Texas. Y'all know how this weather gets, man, but beautiful day outside today. Want to thank everybody for tuning in with us over on Centex Sports Network / Centex Sports TV on YouTube. Make sure you guys go on there, like and share the stream. Also, hit that subscribe button and click the bell so you can get notified when we go live here, right here on Centex Primetime. Also, you can click the bell so you can get notified when we go live with MCC Sports, as MCC basketball is wrapping up their season. Both teams in contention to be able to make the national tournament. The women's team is a top 10 ranked team in the nation. The men's team right on the outside of the top 20 rankings as well. Might move into the top 20 rankings this week, so we'll keep up with that and see. The tournament, the regional tournament, will be hosted on Centex Sports Network. It'll be right there live from the Highlands. That is at the end of next week. For those of you that want to tune in for that, be able to watch the regional tournament, go to CentexSportsNetwork.com. Also subscribe on there, free subscription. Go on there and subscribe, and you'll be able to catch all of that action. MCC baseball and softball also going live on Centex Sports Network, as well as they are both top three ranked teams in the nation, softball and baseball. So really good stuff going on in the MCC. You'll be able to catch all of that action right here on Centex Sports Network as well. If you want to watch with us, we are live on Facebook, Centex Primetime. You can go on Facebook, the Centex Sports Network. You can go on to Twitter or X, whichever one you call it, Centex Sports Network. And you can also watch on Instagram. We're live on Instagram right now, Centex Sports Network, over on Instagram. So you can catch us at multiple different platforms here on Centex Primetime. So we go live 5 to 7 p.m. weekdays right here on Centex Sports Network. Well, folks, still joined in studio by Wayne Walker. Also got PJ Gaither calling in with us. So we just got done wrapping up talking about the NFL Combine and some of those guys that got to improve their status. We talked a little bit about Luka and the new look Lakers as well, and we'll talk some more basketball topics here in hour number 2. Before we do that, I want to talk about this fight that we got to see this weekend. PJ, I know, is a huge boxing fan as well. Wayne, a boxing fan as well. Tank Davis, Gervonta Tank Davis, and Lamont Roach fought at 135 this weekend in what ended up being a sneaky, really, really good fight. This is a fight that, I'll just be honest, I wasn't going to tune into at first. And then once I got home and it was Saturday, and I was like, man, I might as well check out one of these fights real quick and see what's going on with Tank. Seeing Tank go out there, thought it was going to be an easy walkover win for him. But Lamont Roach showed up to fight. Roach, I thought, was coming in as an underdog. In this one, obviously, Tank is undefeated, so that's why he's coming in as an underdog. But also, Lamont Roach fights at 130, so he had to come up to fight at the 135. But in the ring, he looked like the bigger dude. So I was kind of shocked by that. But Lamont Roach coming out there, fought a great fight against Tank Davis. The controversial point in the fight was Tank Davis took a knee during the fight. It wasn't he didn't get hit and take a knee. He took a knee when nobody was swinging and went over to the sideline to get his face wiped. Now, he said, this is what Tank says, that his eyes were burning because he had just got his hair done a few days ago, and all the gel and stuff was sweating and coming down into his eyes, and his eyes was burning and he couldn't see. Now, you take that for what you think, or take that at face value, or however you want to take it. Nonetheless, the fight was a good fight. I actually thought Lamont Roach won the fight. It came out to a draw, so we're going to get a rematch in the fight. If they would have taken away or deducted points for Tank taking that knee, since you can't take a knee that's supposed to count as a knockdown, I don't think they counted that against him in the scorecard. If they would have, Lamont Roach would have won the fight if they would have counted that against him. Nonetheless, it ended up being an amazing fight, man. They were toe-to-toe for at least 8 or 9 of those 12 rounds that they were fighting with each other, man. So I really do enjoy seeing fights like that, because we don't get good fights in boxing anymore, unfortunately. That's due to the promoters. And I blame it somewhat on the boxers too, but a lot of that is these promoters, man. These promoters are greedy. They want the top amount of money for every single fight, and we're not going to fight the big fight because maybe my guy will lose and we won't get the same amount of money. Just weak stuff. They need to get a boxing league like UFC has a boxing league. I've been saying that for years. Make it one league. That's like UFC. Dana White is going to make you fight. You win 5 fights in a row, well, you going to fight the champ. We ain't even finna wait around and wait. You fighting in Vegas in 30 days. We'll see you then. That's when your fight is. We need something like that in boxing. But PJ, I know you watched this fight, man. This was like I said, a sneaky good fight. A fight I didn't expect to be really good. Ended up being one of the best fights we've seen really in a few months. What'd you think about this fight with Tank and Lamont?
Overall, it was a really good fight. Because I'm a Gervonta Davis fan, I'm going to always critique him on what I feel like that he should have done. Lamont, similar to how we were just talking about, in the last hour, how some of the guys earned themselves some more money, doing the way they did at the Combine. Lamont just did this in his fight. A lot of guys didn't know who he was. Whether you was a casual or even somebody who, really watched boxing, you might not really know who he was. His last fight was on, like, Pro Boxing. Yeah. That's like on YouTube or something, you know what I mean? So the guy just earned himself some money. I already knew who Lamont was. He's been a long sparring partner for Gervonta. And they both from similar areas. Lamont from DC and Gervonta from Baltimore. Anybody who knows in the fight circuit, when you coming up in the fight circuit and in the amateurs and everything, like even up here in Dallas, like we've always heard Philly, Baltimore, DC. Those are 3 boxing cities.
Oh yeah.
And so when you coming up in the fight circle, you're gonna know guys. You know, you're gonna go. We go to different gyms and we spar at gyms. You know, your coach might take y'all to this gym and y'all gotta spar these guys. So you're seeing these guys. So these guys really knew each other. You could tell, even in a fight, you know, they were very familiar with each other. My thing with Gervonta was, and I even said it in like the second round. He was to me the entire fight. He dominated as far as he led with the pace. He controlled the pace of the fight. What happened was that he was fainting too much. And he was trying to feint because at the end of the day, any guy that he fights is similar to like Mike Tyson's situation. They're going to be bigger than him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has to feint to get on the inside. He had his lead foot. He had the lead foot dominant. He had his foot on the outside of Lamont's foot. You know what I mean? Like I said, he was controlling the pace. He was getting more of the body shots and everything. He needed to throw the jab more and stop feinting so much. He was feinting and wasn't throwing anything. So after a while, Lamont's looking like, okay, you're going to keep on feinting. You're not throwing any punches. Okay, well, then I'm just going to walk you down because you're not throwing any punches. I know that you're feinting to not even throw a punch.
Yeah.
And so that's around like round 6, round 7. That's when you could kind of tell that Lamont started throwing more combos. He wasn't landing more of them. I mean, I think he threw like 400 punches, only landed like 112.
Mm-hmm.
I think Gervonta threw like probably 200 some punches, but landed like 103. So in reality, he did land more of the power punches and more of the, you know, some of his punches landed, well, not even some, all of his punches landed more compared to Lamont. But the fight was so close that when you're fighting somebody, man, that don't nobody know, you have to dominate, or this is what's going to happen. You can't let it go to the judges because that's how they're going to score the fight. It's too close.
Yeah.
They're going to give it a draw. I'm not really mad at the outcome because to me it was fair. Like I said, I do feel like Gervonta probably did enough to win, but whenever you playing in the ring like that, it's going to always be a draw. So now what he's messed up for himself is there is no more, I can probably fight Shakur next, or I can probably fight Lomachenko or anybody. Anybody. You know, he can't fight nobody. You have to make this rematch happen ASAP, in May.
Yeah,
that was one of the
happen
things
immediately.
Yeah, it has to happen immediately. And that was one of the things in the contract was that, you know, if Gervonta lost, then they was going to have a rematch. So I'm sure they're going to probably push for that. But, I mean, overall, it was a great fight. Like I said, it was just certain things, man, that me watching Gervonta, I'm just like, man, you got to throw the jab more, because everything got to go off the jab.
Mm-hmm.
Everything got to go off the jab. You know what I mean? You could have doubled up on the jab and then throw a 2 to the body. You know what I mean? It was none of that. He was just, I don't know what it was. And then with the whole hair grease and everything, I don't want to say that he's lying, you know, but it just, I don't know. It was supposed to be called a knockdown.
That ain't a good enough excuse, man. That ain't a good enough. It's probably true. Your eyes probably was burning, but you tried to blame the hairstylist. She already came out and said, man, I did your hair on Wednesday. You done worked out 5 times since then. I ain't do that. What it probably was.
I don't know it might have been edge control.
It's all that stuff they put in there to come out before the fight, man. They wanted his hair to be able to lay down and stuff to look cool.
Yeah.
Hey, like Cameron said, you come out there in the fro. You come out there and you look like old dirty bastard. You ain't got to worry about that. You ain't got to worry about some hair grease and stuff.
Trying to look pretty before the fight.
Yeah, man. Stop trying to look cute, man. This is a boxing match. Yeah. This is a fight.
A boxing match.
This is not about looking good or looking cool. So, like, I mean, maybe it did affect him, but that's not a good enough excuse, bro.
I'll say this though too.
It's not a good enough excuse.
I do feel people when they say that it should have been counted as a knockdown because back in I think 2001, Mayweather fought Hernandez.
Yeah,
and
he broke his
Mayweather
hand.
took a knee.
Yeah,
and they counted that as a knockdown.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime that knee touched the canvas, that's supposed to be a knockdown. So that was like the ugliest thing that I've seen in the match. To me, I just felt like as a fighter, you should never even put yourself into that position. You know what I mean? To even be taking a knee. If you taking a knee, that means that a dude put you down. It shouldn't be behind nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the one rule is don't touch the canvas when you're in boxing. And
don't ever touch the canvas.
You did that, so they got to be able to penalize you for that. And people are going back and forth. They've got, the WBO and WBA is weighing in on it and saying that this should have happened or maybe this should have happened. Hey, it is what it is at this point. It's a draw. Wayne, I don't know if anybody used excuses like that before, Well, in the time that you've been watching boxing, saying that some hair grease got in their eyes, and that's why you took a knee.
Man, you either get it done or you don't, man. You can't you can't use that as an excuse. I mean, so that right there plays into the psyche of boxing. Like you said, that's why I don't. Boxing, it should be regulated differently, and
yes.
It's not. Like you said, make people fight because it's this long drawn out. I think boxing is all game, pretty much. I mean, and then they can determine. They fix matches and they fix. Boxing is in a state of I don't know right now. It's confusing.
It is
because guys don't fight until 3 years after they should have fought.
Yep.
And that's messing up the fight game.
It is. It's ruining the fight game. And like you said, I hate the way that it's judged and the way that it's scored. We got to have a better way of scoring than just some 3 people's opinions, in my opinion. If somebody makes a shot with 3 seconds left on the clock, we know that this guy made a shot. Somebody scores a touchdown in the last 30 seconds, we know he just scored. It's not opinion-based. We can look at it and watch it. Boxing is way too opinion-based. We have 7 or 8 to 9 different promoters that really running everything. They control who's actually fighting because they're controlling the contract decisions. These boxers are falling victim to it because they also play into it and say, well, I ain't going to fight him because I wanted to fight for $51 million, and they said they can only do $49 million. Like, bro, make the fight, man. What are we talking about? Go ahead, PJ.
I'll say this too, Jalen. They don't really talk about this too much, but I done seen this happen in them. This can happen to guys at our gym up here in Dallas, where we probably go fight somewhere, and the judges are they're more biased to the fighter that you're probably fighting against because they probably know him. They're more familiar with him. They probably been called more of his fights, and so if the fight is close, they'll give it to their fighter before they give it to you. So you pretty much got to knock them out.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And that's unfair. That's unfair.
Yeah.
That's unfair. And that goes back over the history of boxing, where you've seen a number of matches or bouts that should have been won by one individual, and then they say it's a draw or it's a split decision or this guy won, and that's just not fair. Like you say, boxing needs to be judged differently by more than just 3 people. And they already have the jab counts. They have the power punches. They have all of this. They have all these numbers, and I think they should kind of like base it off of that.
Yeah.
And the knockdowns. Or if you really want to win a fight, basically you have to knock a guy out.
Yeah, knock somebody out then. That'll change how some stuff is getting scored. Go out there and knock somebody out. Like, you're not getting nothing called for you. So, man, like you said, boxing right now is in a state of disarray. People are not fighting the need to fight. It took us 5 years to get Errol Spence versus Crawford. It took us 5 years to get Pacquiao Mayweather. It should not take that long. Dana White is going to make you fight in a month. That's why I like you. I'm not even a big UFC guy, but I respect it because of the way that it's ran and the way that it's judged, because a lot of times in UFC, you got to knock somebody out to be able to win. Right. A lot of stuff ain't going to decision for you to be able to get no wins. That's one thing I can respect about the UFC. So boxing, they've got to change something.
And if it's
go ahead.
If it's a draw, you fight next month.
Yeah, no, for real. If it's a draw and both guys,
probably a few weeks.
Especially if you fighting at 135. These guys weren't super beat up. Lamont had a couple scars here and there. Tank looked the same way he did before the fight started and after the fight. Hey, let's fight in a couple months. Why do we have to? Let's push it down the line and we'll fight at the end of 2025. It's March. You can fight in the summer.
Training camp takes six weeks.
Yeah,
6 weeks in training camp usually.
To
and
get
sometimes
ready.
shorter than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, all training camps are 6 weeks. So, like, all the time in between there, for you to be able to get on Twitter and talk about this guy and then say, well, I didn't really do it. Man, we don't need all that. Matter of fact, if it's the second fight, we don't even need promotion. Your first fight was the promotion. So let's just get the 6 weeks of training camp in and let's go out there and fight, man.
And that's right, man. I mean, the Super Bowl is every year. You know what day it's going to be on.
Every time.
Boxing, it should kind of be, we should have at least two big fights every year.
At least.
And we don't get them. We get them 2 and 4 in between.
Because this was an entertaining fight, but it wasn't a big fight. Like PJ just said, Lamont Roach's last fight was on YouTube. Like we're not talking about pay-per-view. You can get on your YouTube account and watch it. So like they got to do better, man. I've been saying it for years. Boxing got to get a league. Tank and Roach, they'll fight again. They've already agreed to a rematch. I'm just not sure when that rematch is going to be. Hopefully it's sooner than later. Want to go back over to some NFL topics as we're doing some quick takes here in hour number 2. Just got done talking about the NFL Combine. But the NFL Combine means that NFL free agency is also right around the corner as well. So guys are already on the move. We talked about last week a Matt Stafford that was rumored to go here and rumored to go to the Giants and rumored to go to this place. Finally did re-sign with the Los Angeles Rams, which I thought was the best move for his career. I mean, you stay with Sean McVay. The Eagles, like I said, they won the Super Bowl, and you played them the best that anybody played them in the last 6 or 7 weeks leading up to that, including the playoffs. Yeah. And a team that, if that snow didn't come down, I thought really had a chance to beat the Philadelphia Eagles.
No doubt.
And they handled everybody else in the playoffs. So you're looking at that. If you're Matt Stafford, man, you got to stay because y'all got something you can build on. I know Matt Stafford is older. Everybody else in that team is young. They're probably one of the youngest playoff teams outside of maybe the Commanders that got into the playoffs. All their best players are young. Puka Nacua, Jared Verse, Brandon Fisk on their defensive line. These are all a bunch of young guys. Kyron Williams in the backfield. So I'm glad that Matt Stafford stayed. What did you think about the news, Wayne, when you saw that Matt Stafford resigned and took a pay cut, I think?
Yeah, well, he didn't take a pay cut. He got a raise, but it wasn't a raise.
That what he could have got somewhere else.
Somewhere else
Mm-hmm,
if he went free agent. If he went to the Giants, I mean, he would have got a bigger contract. But you're talking about a guy that's already made about $400 million already.
Yeah.
How much money do you need?
Exactly.
I would rather stay with a team that I'm familiar with. I made this mistake as an NFL player, playing with San Diego and choosing to go somewhere else for money. But you stay with a team that you're familiar, and that's when I was young. But you stay with a team that you're familiar with, that you've had success with this guy, and that you won a Super Bowl with. You in Tinseltown. You're in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You think I want to leave Los Angeles to go play in New York, a team that only won 3 games last year? No. I don't want to do that. That didn't protect the quarterbacks that were there. I can go get paid. Yes, I could. But, man, it was the right thing. And I don't think they would have let him get out the door. They let him negotiate and see what his worth was like. But the best move that he could have ever made was to go back there.
Yeah, I agree.
You've already established, so go back there and play where you can compete, like you say, on a young team that you're familiar with the offense, you're familiar with where you live. You don't have to up and move anywhere, and you already have a relationship with that team, that coach, and those players.
Yeah, I agree, man. You got to stay with where you're comfortable at. This is the end of your career. This is your last contract that you're going to get outside of maybe if you sign a 1 year or 2 years somewhere, but most likely this is your last contract that you're going to get. You want it to be in a place. You're already in L.A. where you're not going to get to a better city that you can stay in. You're making a whole bunch of money. You're going to go to New York where it's cold and you're going to lose all the games. People going to boo you and throw beers at you. Like, you don't want to go do that.
You go from playing inside to outside.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing, you know.
Completely different ball game, especially when you're a quarterback.
Exactly.
And he knows that because he played in Detroit and had to play against Green Bay outside and had to play against Minnesota when they were outside when he was back in Detroit. Had to play against Chicago outside. I don't think he wants to go outside anymore. He got enough cold to last a few people's careers playing in that NFC North for all those years. So, man, Matt Stafford, a really good quarterback, a guy that now, Wayne, you weren't on here last week. We should have had you on here because, Rocky was explaining to me how Dak had a better career than Matthew Stafford if Matt Stafford don't get that Super Bowl.
We're going to drug test Rocky too, man. We're going to drug test Rocky. Man, this guy got a Super Bowl ring, man.
He said if you take away the Super Bowl and look at all that stuff, that Dak Prescott got a better career than Matt Stafford. Yeah.
Man, no, not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
But go ahead.
Not at all.
Yeah,
not at all. I don't know. We're going to drug test Rocky, too. I know he's the biggest Cowboy fan on earth, but, man, this man got a Super Bowl ring, man.
Yeah. He a whole different problem when they get into the playoffs and stuff, man. But Matt Stafford, like I said, re-upping. PJ, what was your opinion on Matt Stafford staying with L.A. instead of going out and taking somewhere else?
Yeah, I agree with everything y'all said. I mean, he's at the end of his career. It really don't make sense to leave there now. And then you have to go start over somewhere else. You know, it doesn't really make sense. You're too old now to be going somewhere else and having to try to start all over again and leave something that you already have established. He's well established in LA right now. You already got a Super Bowl ring over there. You got some really good receivers. You got Puka Nacua. You got other guys, supporting cast. I'm sure they're going to add some more guys during this off season and during the draft soon. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really make no sense for you at this point in your career to leave and go anywhere else. And like you said, I don't think you want to play outside either. So
No.
this is the best decision for him to just stay in LA. And I think that they're not a bad team. They're a pretty good team. They're not probably one of the best teams, coming out the NFC, but they're still a very dangerous team. That if Matt Stafford, if he's hitting on all cylinders, I mean, it's dangerous playing against them guys. And we kind of seen that this year whenever he kind of got hot towards the end of the season, where it was like, man, if he plays against anybody like that, then they got a chance to beat anyone.
Anybody.
Yeah. And just think about it. You'll go to the NFC East in New York, where you have to go and play in Philadelphia outside. Baltimore, you have to go play in Dallas. The two top teams in the NFC were Philadelphia and the Washington Redskins, who played for the NFC Championship to get to the Super Bowl. You're playing in that division.
Yeah.
What?
With a terrible roster.
Yeah, when you can play in L.A. and you going to Arizona. Right?
Exactly.
You're going to Seattle, which is a dome, and you're going to San Francisco.
Yep.
Man, what is that to compare? What is that to compare?
And all those teams are down right now.
Exactly.
You're talking about the other two teams in
and
that
all
division.
All those teams are hot weather teams where when you go to Seattle, it's dome. Arizona, you go in December and it's 80 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean,
same with San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco, the same thing. So
yeah.
I'm staying in L.A. I'm staying put.
That should be an easy decision for Matt Stafford, man, and I'm glad that they got a deal done because I didn't want to see Matt Stafford in the New York Giants jersey. That's just ugly. I don't like when certain guys go and leave and just end up getting an ugly jersey number. It don't look right. The Stafford and stuff like it's like Patrick Ewing going to or the Magic or Hakeem going to the Raptors.
It was like Tony Dorsett. I remember being a big Tony Dorsett fan, going and playing for Denver. And you seeing this guy play. It was like Emmett going and playing for Arizona.
It don't look right. It's ugly, man. I don't want to see guys that
like LaDainian going from San Diego and going and playing with the Jets.
Yeah,
man,
I hated that.
That's ugly, man.
I hated that. Yeah, man. I wish he could have stayed San Diego.
There's Brian from the Cowboys to Baltimore.
Yeah,
it just don't look right, man. So,
and I didn't want to see. We already got the transition from Detroit Stafford to L.A. Stafford. I don't want to see that.
We got used to that, and he won a Super Bowl.
And he won.
You can do that.
That's how you can retire. They might give you a statue because the Rams ain't won nothing since they had the greatest show on turf. So they're gonna put your jersey in the rafters, all this good stuff, man. Retire there, get some more numbers out there.
That was St. Louis. That was
St. Louis. Yeah, that wasn't even the L.A. Rams. Yeah, so you get to make your mark. You made the biggest mark out there in L.A. over than what you did in Detroit. And it ain't no mark for you to make in New York. I don't care what you go out there and do. They're going to go from a 3-win team to a 6-win team. They still ain't got no players. That ain't changed at all. So Matt Stafford, glad he stayed out there. Talking about some other contract negotiations, this is one that this guy probably didn't like that much, but T. Higgins gets put back on the franchise tag. Once again, Cincinnati not knowing how to make any financial decisions. Since they've been an organization, since this ownership and this regime has been in place in Cincinnati, they refuse to make any financial decisions. That's why Jamar Chase is going to kick their butt in the contract room and make them have to give up every dollar that they can, as he should. Because y'all were thinking about potentially putting him on the franchise tag in a couple of years when his contract was up. He'd been telling y'all, give me a new contract, and he goes win the Triple Crown. So now you can't do nothing. Joe Burrow done already got money from y'all. You've been kicking the can down the road on Trey Hendrickson. Now he's a free agent after he just led the league in sacks. So either you're going to have to pay him a ton of money or he's going to leave because you didn't want to renegotiate his contract. Now T. Higgins, who you already put on the franchise tag last year, had another good year, and you said, hey, you know what? He has some decent numbers. Maybe we can get him on a decent contract. But now you franchise tag him again, and you're going to have to pay him $26 million this year. And you don't even know if your team is going to make the playoffs because you've got so many holes on defense and your offensive line is terrible. Cincinnati Bengals front office is terrible. It's just that simple. Their front office has been bad, and this is just another case, in my opinion, of Cincinnati's front office being bad because now you got to pay your second receiver $26 million. Wayne, what do you think about the news of T. Higgins getting franchise tagged again?
Well, I think they franchise tagged him to just for right now,
Okay.
to make sure they do a long-term deal with him.
I'm hoping so.
So I think that was the thought in franchise tagging him this year. Trey Henderson, same thing. They have to. Those are the three best players. So those guys, Trey, Jamar, and Higgins, they're gonna get their money.
Yeah.
They're gonna get their money. They have to. And I heard they've been cutting guys. They cut one guy to get up under the captain, and so they're gonna be cutting guys. But football is all about the guys that you put around the stars. So if you're able to draft well and bring in some guys that can complement the roster that you got of good guys, then you'll be okay. But they're going to be in the same boat they were last year, because you can't do things on the long. It's just like Dallas.
Yeah.
Like, you should have CeeDee Lamb. You should have been and gave him a contract extension. Dax, you should have gave him a contract extension a long time ago. So now you put yourself, on the short end of all of that, and then your salary cap rises, and then now you really can't really sign them, and you can't really sign free agents or guys to play around your good guys. So, but T. Higgins is going to get paid. Even if he gets that $26 million, he'll be a free agent again next year.
Yeah.
And then you can't franchise tag him. So he's in a good situation. He's
Yeah.
going to get a long-term deal this year, or he's going to make $26 million and be a free agent, which I would go for. So,
Yeah.
I mean, and it's just like the Kirk Cousins deal.
He laid the blueprint for everybody.
For everybody. So, I mean, he's in a good situation.
Yeah, I don't think T minds the franchise tag at all. You get to pay me as the highest paid receiver in the league for a couple years. Then I still get to go and get a free agency bag and get a huge signing bonus after I get a 4-year deal. I don't think T. Higgins is mad about that deal at all.
That's why I say, man, he's in a good position.
Yeah.
I mean, it puts Cincinnati in a bad position, but
Yeah.
But for him, he's in a great position because he's going to get paid this 1-year contract, and if he goes out and have another year like he did, he'll be the top receiver again and hold free agency, and you can't franchise tag him again. So, I mean, the best thing you could do is try to come to terms with him on a long-term deal. If not, I mean, hey, what's going on?
He's going to get another payday.
He don't have to sign it, and he don't have to sign it. He can say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take this $26 million and I'm done. I don't want a long-term deal with Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Unless, you talking about some dollars.
Yeah,
some
real money.
Yeah. You gotta pay me, because he's easily one of the top 10 receivers in the whole league. So I want to get paid like I'm one of the top 10 receivers in the league. And $26 million ain't doing it.
No.
Because you got some guys, it starts at 35 and then 34, I think.
CD and Brandon Ayuk just got paid and all those guys. So, yeah.
Tyreek,
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
So, yeah, T. Higgins definitely in a good spot. And the Bengals just puts them, like you said, in a terrible spot because you franchise them right now. And if you can't get a deal done coming up, you still got to get a deal with Jamar Chase, who is the best player on your team. So now you're in a position where you're going to have to spend $60, $70 million on just the receiver room in one offseason. So, I mean, but they made their bet, so now they got to lay in it. PJ, what's your thoughts on T. Higgins getting franchised for the second year in a row?
Well, I feel the same way y'all feel. For him, it's a win. I mean, either way, it's a win for him. For the Bengals, though, they kind of put themselves in a rocky situation because what are you going to do after the season? You know what I mean? Are you going to have enough money to be able to go ahead and give him a bag and Jamar, you know what I mean, other guys that you need to pay? Y'all still got to get some people on defense because the defense isn't good at all.
It's terrible.
They have nobody on the defense that I'm looking at as like, it's not even that they don't have any star. They don't have any stars on the defensive side, but y'all don't even have guys that's like competent to me.
They only got Trey Hendrickson, and he's 31, I think.
Yeah, and that ain't gonna work. So for them though, it's kind of you putting yourself in a rocky situation, but they can still come out of it unscathed in a certain way. But it's going to be a little rough. But for him though, I mean, it's a win because at the end of the day, you're going to get paid this season. You're still going to get paid this season. Then you still got a choice on if you want to go ahead and test your luck in free agency and go somewhere else and get a big bag.
Yeah, I think it's going to work out for T. Higgins regardless. Barring injury. He's going to make a lot of money in the next 12 months. Yeah. He's going to make 26.
Barring injury is what that's the thing. You can bet on yourself and say, hey, I'm going to sign this franchise tag deal, and I'm gonna be done with it, and I can go back in free agency. But you have to stay healthy, and you have to have the season that you had last year.
Yeah.
And if you able to do that, you gonna make a bag. You talking about a bag? You know what I mean? You finna go get paid somewhere because it's too many teams that need receivers.
Yeah.
You know.
And especially a big receiver like that.
Yeah, a big receiver that can hands
red zone
catch.
threat.
Yeah. And that has speed. Mm-hmm. Because you're going to go from, and you're the number 2 receiver on your team. You can go somewhere where you can be the number 1 receiver easily on a lot of teams. On a lot of teams.
On most teams, yeah.
On most teams.
You're the number 1 target on most teams. T. Higgins will be the number 1. And you said a big body receiver that's got speed, got good hands. I know Joe Burrow said he wants to keep all those guys there, man. But Joe, you're not calling the shots. You play for Cincinnati, so you got to realize what team you're playing for. They don't like spending money. They're one of the cheapest organizations in sports history, not just the NFL, in sports history. So I would like to see T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow out there for the next 5 years. I personally just don't see it because I don't see them spending that much money on the offensive end and still got to get somebody to play defense, like PJ said. Somebody got to play defense out there. I don't know who it's going to be.
PJ said a mouthful because their defense is what ultimately stopped him from being in the playoffs last year.
It cost them the playoffs.
It prevented them from being in the playoffs last year.
The first team, I think, in NFL history to have the passing leader in yards and touchdowns, a triple crown winner at receiver, and the sack leader on defense, and didn't make the playoffs.
26 points per game.
Yeah,
and they
crazy.
still didn't make the playoffs.
Didn't make the playoffs. They were putting up 38 and 40 points in losses because their defense gave up 50. And somehow people were trying to blame Joe Burrow. Man, what do you want this dude to do? I'm scoring 40. If my defense gives up 50, we deserve to lose. If my defense is giving up 50 multiple times in a year, we're supposed to lose. So we'll keep an eye on that franchise tag thing. I think they have until July 15th to figure out if he's going to sign it or do a long-term extension. Right now, they just placed it on him to kind of keep it there as a placeholder while free agency is getting ready to start. So it's got to July 15th to be able to sign that, to be able to sign a big deal or sign to that franchise deal tag that they decided to put on him. So shout out T. Higgins, man, because you're going, like I said, barring injury, the next 12 months going to be lovely for your bank account, man. Shout out to you for being able to do that. Staying with the receivers. San Francisco finally made a decision, and they sent Deebo Samuel to the Washington Commanders. Now, I thought that one was a little bit not strange because we all knew they was getting traded. As soon as Brandon Ayuk got his money, we knew that the Deebo Samuel's days were numbered. But what I thought was kind of confusing is you gave him to the most up-and-coming team in the NFC. You're in the NFC. You thought I would have sent him to, I don't even know, send him to the Jets or something. They got a whole bunch of receivers over there getting paid. Send him to somewhere. But you give up. He gets traded in exchange for 5th-round picks to the Washington Commanders. He'll be headed out there to play with the Offensive Rookie of the Year and Jaden Daniels. Be playing with Terry McLaurin, Cliff Kingsbury as an offensive coordinator. PJ, I'll start with you, man. What do you think about this Deebo trade, and what kind of impact can Deebo have out there in Washington?
It hurt my soul. It hurt my soul as a Dallas.
Yeah, I was about to say that's speaking as a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be ugly. It's gonna be uglier for us, because we're dookie, so we're trash, and with Washington, in the way they just perform, I feel like they're gonna be a very dangerous team for a long time, depending on just how this roster continues to get built up on. But I mean, this is a huge pickup for them because I don't think nobody even thought about Washington. I didn't think that he would even be going to Washington. I didn't really know where he would be going to, but Washington was like, that wasn't even a thought in my mind. Mm-hmm. So for them, this is a huge pickup. I mean, he's a great receiver. After catch, he's awesome. I feel like they need a guy like that. I feel like they need a guy like that that's going to fit very well into the team. And then with him, you can do so much. I mean, he can run. He can do reverse. You can do reverses with him. You can do everything. You can line him up at running back. I don't really like him being lined up like that, how the 49ers did. I just like him at slot, which they'll probably utilize him like that more in Washington. But for them, this is a huge win. For the Dallas Cowboys, this is awful for us because that means we're losing against them. That's two immediate losses in the season every time we play against them, whether we're at home or in Washington. So, yeah, it's going to be rough for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think this improves their roster. This gives them an after-the-catch guy. They got the deep threat with Terry McLaurin already. Jaden Daniels has shown he can make all the throws, plus what he can do in the running game. You give kind of a Swiss Army knife type player to an offensive coordinator like Cliff Kingsbury, who's shown what he can do with lesser guys. I mean, De'Ami Brown, he had a decent season towards the end there, but you replace De'Ami Brown with Deebo Samuel and those same targets and those same – we running them on the drag routes. We're going to get you the ball on the screens. We know you can win early on a slant. You give him those opportunities, and a guy that, like you just said, PJ, after the catch is as good as a Deebo Samuel. Man, I think the Commanders, people got to really take a look at this. Wayne, what was your thoughts when you seen Deebo headed down there to Washington?
Man, the way he's going to complement this offense.
Yeah.
I mean, because you think about it, Terry McLaurin is the only basic real receiver that I thought that they had.
Mm-hmm.
But would you put this guy with Cliff Kingsbury, you know, and the way that they used their tight end last year, Zach Ertz.
Mm-hmm.
You add another weapon, and I can just see so many ways that they're going to use this guy that's going to complement their offense and going to make them a lot better. And I don't think they finished. I think they're going to add some more pieces, even more pieces. I think
a lot of money to spend.
Yeah, I think they're looking for one more receiver. So just think about getting one more receiver to kind of help out, because I think they got the running back room is already kind of set. Maybe they can use another kind of speed guy on as a running back, but you can go in the draft and get that guy in the second, third round.
Especially in this draft.
But I think if they can add one more receiver in free agency and then just kind of work on their defensive line and kind of get some pieces around the defense, Washington is going to be tough, man. And
really tough.
That was a good trade to get Deebo. I was thinking that they probably would do that. If I'm looking and you talking about trade and I had the money to do so, when they said they was getting him a way out and saying that he could look into trades and seeing what he can do, I already knew Washington was the place. I mean, where else?
Yeah.
Where else? They got the money. They need a receiver. They need that type of personnel. So where else would you want to go?
Man, it's not a better – you're playing with Jaden Daniels, who played like a top 5 quarterback for half the year last year.
And then you get to go back on the East Coast, where you from. So,
Yep.
Man, I thought it was a match made in heaven to me.
Yeah, this was a great pickup, one that we're not even going to really see the benefit of it until they start into the season. And everybody's like, oh, man, I forgot Deebo adds a different dimension that a lot of receivers don't add. I know people are critical of him and saying he's not the best route runner and he's not this. Hey, Deebo Samuel is a football player. You get him you get the ball to him, and he's going to do what he's been doing since high school, since college, and in the NFL when he just went for 1,400 yards just a couple of years ago when he got paid.
So and it's all about the way they use him.
Yep.
But I think you had the best offense coordinator in the league for using guys and putting them in use. So I think, like I said, he's going to complement that offense a lot, Jalen.
Yeah, and that offense, like you said, they have one real receiver, and that's Terry McLaurin. And they were still one of the most productive offenses in the league. So now you add a Deebo, and like you said, maybe if you go in the draft or in free agency and add another guy out there, receiver, maybe a burner guy or maybe a guy you can get the ball to on short yardage situations, man, and then you sticking him out there with Cliff Kingsbury, who decided to stay and not go take one of these head coaching jobs, man, the Commanders, like PJ said, it's going to be a long season for some of y'all Cowboys fans that watch the show. Sorry to bring y'all up again, but it's going to be a long season for y'all because the Eagles just won the Super Bowl, and now y'all got to deal with even more of this, and everyone's just praying that the Giants don't ever figure out what's going on and they get good. Because if that happens, then the Cowboys are now looking at competing for fourth place in their division. But I ain't here to talk about the Cowboys, man. I'm gonna ease up on them because we got the whole offseason to see what they're not gonna do to decide if we're gonna talk about them or not. We want to stay with a couple other NFL topics. Another receiver, apparently everybody receiver weekend this weekend. The Jets have been taking calls for Devontae Adams, and they have given their permission to his agent to go talk to people, and pretty much have said if they don't find a trade for him, they're going to cut Devontae Adams. Now, just 2 off seasons ago, this would have sounded sacrilegious for a team to be saying we're going to trade Devontae Adams or potentially cut Devontae Adams. We're talking about elite route running, elite hands, all the stuff you can ask for as a receiver. I think that he honestly, he went and took some money, and never gonna blame anybody for taking money. Went out there to go play with the Raiders. Wanted to play with his college quarterback, and they got rid of him in like 6 months. So you end up not being with your college quarterback. You get cursed by having Josh McDaniels as your coach, who I have no idea how he kept getting coaching jobs. Probably one of the worst NFL head coaches in NFL history, and had multiple jobs. Then you go out there to the worst quarterback room. You finally get traded. You go to the Jets. You're playing with your other old quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers. And the Jets are the most dysfunctional franchise in last season's in the 2024 season. They were the most dysfunctional franchise. Multiple All-Pros on the team, and you win 4 games. Doesn't get any more dysfunctional than that. So Davante Adams kind of just got stuck in all that. He didn't have a choice in that. I still think Davante Adams has got a lot of football left. I still think Davante Adams can be a number 1 receiver. You stick him out there one-on-one with guys, and it's going to get ugly for whoever's trying to guard him. He's one of the best route runners in this last 10 years, this modern NFL that we see now. One of the best route runners we've seen. So him being on the trade market, I think is big, because y'all gonna keep playing around and let somebody like Kansas City get him, and everybody gonna want to start crying then. But y'all all had a chance to go get him. So I want to hear it then when he goes out there and play with Andy Reid and them and go put up 1,200 yards again. So Wayne, what's your thoughts on the Jets moving off of Davante and then saying they'll possibly cut him if they don't find a trade partner for him?
Well, the thing they probably going to do is probably trade him.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get something for a guy like him.
Yeah.
One of the top 5 receivers in the league.
Yep.
You have to get something for him. So, but if you cut him and he's able to be a free agent and go pick and choose where he wants to go
and still get paid.
I'm looking at a place like Houston that could cut Stephon Diggs and let Stephon Diggs go and he come to Houston. I'm looking at Kansas City where they can say, hey, man, all we needed was you. All we need is you to come, So that's dangerous. That's going to be another I don't know. I don't know how you trade for this guy and then you end up letting him go
a couple months later
in disarray. Now you got a capable receiver in Garrett out there in with the Jets. In New York.
Garrett Wilson,
but he's not Davante Adams.
No, he's not.
So I don't know how they're gonna let him go, but man, that's gonna be dangerous. That's gonna be dangerous because I can see him. Like I said, I can see him potentially with Kansas City or Houston, which is going to make him even more dangerous. Because he's going to go to a team because he's got his money too.
Yeah, yep.
He got over, I think, $80 million guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
So he's made his money. So now he can pick and choose to where he want to go, to where he can compete for a championship. That's what he wants to do now. So I can see that happening, and that's going to be bad for the rest of the league.
Yeah, I'm hoping that my Texans can get in on this deal because we were supposedly the favorite to get Deebo Samuel because we traded for Diggs last year, but he was on the 1-year deal, and I don't see them re-signing him after the way that the injury went and all that went with Stephon Diggs. So we're in the market for another receiver. Deebo we were supposedly in the front runners for getting Deebo, so hopefully they switch their attention over to Davante Adams and a guy that can really help a young quarterback like C.J. Stroud. We got the big threat with Nico Collins, a guy that can stretch the field. But as we struggled in the playoffs and in the end of the season, was those 3rd and 5 scenarios when guys are going to double down on Nico. Where can we go with the ball? Then Tank Dell got hurt. We didn't have a guy in the slot that we could go to. So that's what kind of hurt us. You stick a guy like Davante Adams within that offense, man. I think that can be huge for a guy like C.J. Stroud and his development moving forward. So I don't know why Davante Adams. I'm like you, saying you trade for a guy and then 2 months later, let's just go ahead and get rid of him. I understand they're trying to start over and finding places to cut back on some money, but I would have tried to figure out a way if I could keep Davante Adams within that fold. PJ, what do you think about Davante Adams getting ready to head out of New York to anywhere at this point?
As far as when they say that they're gonna cut him, they bluffing. I feel like that's mad disrespectful to Davante Adams. He's too great of a receiver to just cut him and let him go anywhere without getting anything back. So I think they're just bluffing when it comes to that. But as far as trading him, I feel like he can go to Houston, but I also look at Baltimore. I feel like he'll fit in pretty good over there. Definitely as a number 1 receiver in Baltimore. That'll be very dangerous if he goes to Baltimore. That'll be very dangerous. So I don't think anybody. I mean, if you don't, if only people who don't like Baltimore is not going to want to see that. You know what I mean? But yeah, I see him going to Houston, Baltimore, even Kansas City, like y'all was saying. But yeah, I'm sure somebody's going to end up picking him up. They're not just going to cut him because somebody's going to want to get him.
Yeah, and I can even see him in Chicago. I can see him going into a Ben Johnson offense.
Yeah.
You know, and Ben Johnson saying, "Hey man, you can come and be my main receiver here," and you putting him in that. And man, it's so many places because they have cap space as well.
Yes, they do. A lot of it.
I don't know if Baltimore really has a cap space to do it because they got some free agents that they have to keep this year.
Yeah.
Especially along that defensive line, but teams like Chicago, teams like even Washington has enough cap space. But Houston, Kansas City, once they're able to clear out, they have a lot of free agents that they have to sign. But after those guys go, man,
yeah,
he could be in Kansas City as well.
I mean, I do want to see him in Kansas City, but I don't want to see him in Kansas City at the same time because I feel like Devontae Adams is one of those guys that's been getting disrespected the last couple of years because he's been on terrible teams. So once you're on terrible teams, people act like they forgot you can play.
Yeah, he hadn't been with a quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. Forget how good the team was. He's had bad quarterback play, and then his last season it was just nobody could succeed in the situation that they were in the Jets last season. So this is similar to, I think, Randy Moss when he was in Oakland, and everybody said, well, maybe he's at the end of his career or something, and then the Patriots get him, and he goes for 25 touchdowns in the season. So, like, Devontae Adams is one of those type of guys. I think, like, man, y'all going to let this guy get undervalued, and he's going to go somewhere else and have a fantastic season as well. Another guy that just got cut in recent news, Darius Slay, now Super Bowl champion Darius Slay, was cut. 6-time Pro Bowler was cut by the Eagles to save $4.3 million in cap, I believe is what they saved. Now, people are saying, oh, they're cutting them, and they might re-sign him to another deal. They just didn't want to pay him that much money. I don't know. I kind of seen this coming with Darius Slay, unfortunately, and I like Slay. I think he's putting a lot of work in this league. But the emergence of Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, I can see that coming. Yeah. You got Darius Slay on a big contract. Philly's trying to stay competitive. They're not saying, like, hey, we won the Super Bowl and now we can just chill. They're trying to figure out already how can we win another Super Bowl next year. And getting a guy like Slay that was getting paid big money, you got to cut guys like that. Unfortunately, it's just part of the game. It comes with it, especially as you're trying to improve this roster. I think they're still going to be active in free agency. I think they're still going to be very active in the draft as well. Unfortunately, that just came to the expense of Darius Slay. But he's 34 years old. He's at the end of his career. He might play a couple of more years, and then he's going to get out of here, and he's had a great career. So they probably came to some agreement. They probably, both sides probably seen this coming as well. But what's your thoughts on Darius Slay getting cut by the Eagles, Wayne?
Well, when you play about 6 or 7 games without a guy, that's what kind of happens. Yeah. They winning games without him playing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his veteran leadership and his experience comes into play, but you were able to plug some guys in, and you were able to win with him not being on the field because he got hurt early in the year. So when you open that door, opportunity for other guys to get in there and get that experience, then you become a casualty.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, especially if you're getting paid a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what happened to Darius Slay. Now it's his decision. Do I want to come back because he's gotten paid too.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the highest paid
about
cornerbacks
2 teams,
in the league. So now do I want to come back where I'm, like you said, I'm comfortable? I won a championship. Do I want to compete this thing? Because it's all about the guys that's around you.
Mm-hmm.
Because at this point, he's going to be a third down, a nickelback defensive back right now, because they got young guys that came in and upped their game and played well. So with that being said, man, you can see this happening.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
And then they got these 2 defensive tackles and stuff that they want to sign back. So they're trying to get under the cap and recoup any type of money that they can to get these guys signed. So yeah, you can see that happening.
Yeah, for sure. PJ, what do you think about Slay getting cut by the Eagles just about a month after they won the Super Bowl?
It's not really a surprise like y'all was saying. I mean,
Yeah.
he is getting older. I mean, he's 34, and then they got guys on the team that play the same position that's able to compete at a high level. That's very young. You know what I mean? So, I mean, yeah, you can see it happening. You know, he's at the end of his career. You're gonna have somebody that's gonna pick him up, but he's not gonna be able to be playing the same way that he once was playing whenever he was younger.
Yeah.
And it's not that he's a bad player now, but it's just, you know, Father Time. You know, nobody can really beat Father Time. So, I mean, yeah, he probably only got like maybe a year or two, maybe, to me, left in his career before you go ahead and hang him up.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, I think both parties, like I said, probably seen this coming with Darius Slay, and either he'll go back out there in the Eagles on a cheaper deal, or he's still a guy that can help out a team, and he's going to probably go to a veteran type of team, like teams we just spoke about, the Baltimores, the Kansas Cities. He might go back to Detroit. Detroit was where he started his career and got a lot of his Pro Bowls and his All-Pro mentions and all that. So I can see him going back to a team like Detroit. So he still got something left in the tank. Before we get off here, one more topic I want to talk about, and that is with the NBA. The Phoenix Suns are terrible. Let's just start with that. The Phoenix Suns are probably the biggest disappointment. It's between them and the Philadelphia 76ers, who both need to blow up their teams, I believe, as far as who's the biggest disappointment in the NBA this season. But after seeing the last trade deadline go by and Kevin Durant was almost traded, now we just keep hearing more and more talks about it. I think Phoenix has lost 10 out of their last 14 games. They've been playing absolutely terrible. They're 5 games under 500. They're 21 and a half games behind first place in the West. They're sitting at the 11th spot in the Western Conference right now. And now they're already saying talks about how the team is already planning on working out a trade for Kevin Durant in the summer. And we still got like 30 games left, and you're already planning on a trade. So it's like, okay, whatever. They're planning a trade for Kevin Durant this summer. What do y'all just think about the Phoenix Suns and then Kevin Durant leaving? Where should he go? Because Kevin Durant is starting to be at the point where, you know, kind of how we looked to Shaq at the end of his career is like, hey, man, that's a lot of jerseys you putting up there, man. We getting Shaq in a Boston jersey. We getting Shaq in a Cleveland jersey. Now Kevin Durant is, okay, he left Golden State. He left Oklahoma City. And then it's like, okay, you're on the Nets. That didn't work. And now it's like, okay, you're on the Suns. That didn't work. It's like, okay, where do you go from this point? And, Wayne, I'll start with you. Where does Kevin Durant go from this point? Because the Phoenix thing is dead. That's over with.
Well,
that's an L.
Well, they took a chance on the big three with Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker, and it didn't work. It didn't work. I mean, because you traded half your roster for these guys, and so when you trade half your assets and it doesn't work, then it's time to blow it up. I mean, you got 3 guys on that team getting paid over $50 million a year.
Yep.
And it's not working and they're not winning. And you are really in a competitive West. So one of the things that Phoenix was thinking about in the new owner was like, hey, let's get rid of Kevin Durant. They tried to trade him. And so that's putting disrespect on your name.
Yeah.
You know, you got to put some respect on my name.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So if you don't do that, you may as well get rid of me. So they're not going to get in the play-in. They're going to be sitting at home. They're going to go fishing right after the season is over with. So, yeah, you know, if you were thinking about doing it at the trade deadline, you might as well get rid of me during the off-season. So
Yeah.
Oklahoma is where would Kevin Durant get his jersey retired at?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Oklahoma is the only option he has.
Yeah, so if you go back to Oklahoma, you can kind of save face.
Yeah.
Because these guys had Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and Kevin Durant at the same time.
Same time. All drafting them.
Yeah, all drafted. So they had the formula there, but these guys was too selfish and too young, and they made bad decisions, and they wanted to go. If you keep that team together, then maybe you would have had some championships.
Oh, yeah.
But now you didn't retool. Just trading those 3 guys is gotten Oklahoma to where they are right now.
Yep. And
So now you can go back and kind of save face. You the face of that franchise. You were one of their first big pick. I mean, you were their first pick.
Yeah.
And so now you can save face. You can go somewhere. You can be a part of something. You kind of tutor the younger guys and go win a championship there and save face and get your jersey retired there.
Yeah, I agree 100% with everything you said. That KD, that in my opinion, that's his only option is going to Oklahoma City. Obviously, any team in the league would want him, but do I want to see KD on the Timberwolves? No, he already said no to going back to Golden State. I don't want the Lakers to get anybody else because they already hate the Lakers. I don't need the Lakers trying to go and get another star and break up what they got going or go to Boston. Oklahoma City's his only option, man. That's where you started, and that's where your unfinished business was. You left when you were right on the brink of winning the championship multiple times, and you left that because you were running from the grind. Now here it comes back looking at you in the face as you're about to end your career. Hey, man, this is a spot you need to go. And they're a young team that's got the most draft picks in the league. They got like 15 draft picks over the next 3, and they can't even use all of them. The NBA is going to force them to trade some of those because the NBA is not going to let you make 9 picks in one draft. So you have to trade some of those picks anyway. PJ, what do you think about the Suns already planning a trade for Kevin Durant in the summertime?
As far as for the Phoenix Suns, their organization is cooked.
Yeah.
It's over for them dudes. But, I mean, for Kevin, yeah, Oklahoma City, the only team that he really needs to go to. I feel like that's the best fit at this point in his career for him. I really don't want to see him in this would be his 15 if he goes somewhere different.
Yeah, 15.
This would be like his 15. Yeah, I don't want to see that, man. So I think if he go to OKC, they possibly got a chance to win a championship this time. You know,
man, for sure.
I mean, they could easily win one with him adding him to the roster.
Definitely.
So I feel like at this point in his career, Oklahoma City is the best choice for Phoenix. They're cooked. They have no money.
None.
They have no money. Do they even got? I don't think they ain't got no draft picks either, right?
They gave their draft picks away to get
they
Beal and Kevin
could.
Durant.
Yeah, they gave everything
Yeah, it's
away.
over.
So the only thing they can do is recoup some of them picks and trade them to Oklahoma. Kevin Durant's decision when he went to New Jersey should have been to go to New York, and he would have been with Jalen Brunson at this point.
Yep.
But he didn't.
He wanted to play with Kyrie and Fat James Harden at that time when he came out there, and that was one of the biggest disappointments in NBA history. You got 3 dudes. They was in their prime when they did that, all 3 of them. And ultimately him wearing too big of a shoe stopped him from going to the finals that year when Giannis was able to win. But Kevin Durant, man, still one of the best players in the league, one of the best players of all time. Unfortunately, his story is just a little bit strange, and it being in Phoenix right now, like PJ just said, they're cooked. Your 8th best player in Bradley Beal has got a no-trade clause, and they make $55 million a year. There is no direction for this organization. If I'm Devin Booker, I'm saying send me somewhere, because Devin Booker was on this team when they was winning 20 games a year for like his first 6 years in the league. They get Chris Paul, they get good, they get off Chris Paul to go get Kevin Durant. They make the worst decision they could have made and go and trade for Bradley Beal, and that ruined it. So now you just got to blow it all up, man. Devin Booker's not staying for a 3rd rebuild at this point in his career. He's going to want to go somewhere too. So they're going to have to blow the whole team up. Like I said, Phoenix and 76ers, the 2 biggest disappointments this entire year. 76ers need a whole other segment. They need to fire the owner, the coach. Everybody needs to go with the 76ers. That's the worst that they can get. But Phoenix is right behind them as far as being just completely disappointing, man. So I'll keep my eye on this one as they're already planning for a trade in the offseason, and we got 20-some games left. So that lets you know where their season is sitting at. Folks, we're out of time here today on Centex Primetime. I want to thank everybody for tuning in with us. We'll be back here tomorrow, 5 o'clock to 7 p.m. right here on Centex Sports Network. We'll have Rocky in here. He'll come tell us something about the Cowboys, and we'll talk about some other topics as well. So we will see you guys tomorrow. Everybody have a great evening.
Lighthouse Streaming, a full-scale media agency and your go-to source for all things audio and video. Is your church long overdue for audio and video upgrades? Call Lighthouse Streaming for a free consultation. Does your corporate or church event need audio or video production? Don't stress. Call the guys at Lighthouse Streaming. In business since 2017, Lighthouse Streaming has produced hundreds of live events and completed dozens of church and venue installations. Whatever your AV needs are, Lighthouse Streaming has you covered. Give them a call at 254-252-4206. That's 254-252-4206. Or go to lighthousestreaming.com and set up your free consultation.